Hello there. You seem to have found your way into my private chambers. I don't know how you got there, but since you're here, maybe we can talk about what I've been thinking about recently. I'll give you a hint. Your looks, they don't matter more than your personality. The end. But that's not actually the end. I'll elaborate a little bit. There's this idea floating around that looks matter more than personality, or that beauty is not in the eye of the beholder. And if you don't do something about your looks, then you lose. And if you're not attractive, it's over for you. And I want to break down the door on that idea and shine the light on the truth. I want to debunk it. I want to get away from this cycle on the internet that you have to look good in order to be good, or if I just looked a little bit better, then I would be happy. If I just had a slightly smaller nose, if I just had a slightly better jaw, if I had a slightly better canthal tilt, then I would be happy. I want to get rid of that forever, because it's not true. I'm gonna get personal for a second here. I think that this thing I'm talking about, this looks matter more than personality idea, is more than just an internet fad. I think that it's like a false identity. It's a false personal value that a lot of people have, and I think it's something that I've had for probably my whole life, maybe a little less. And I want to make this video to find out, really, truly, am I valuable beyond my looks? Or do my looks matter more? Does my personality matter more? I want to find out what's important. But before I get to all that, I'll start from the top. For this section, I put together a little slideshow, so... What is that? Is that me? Is this me? Why do I look like that? Oh. I'm sorry, I'm not sure what that is. I think I might have been hacked. We're just gonna move on here. As I was saying, I've put together a little slideshow for this section in order to convey my ideas more clearly, because I needed help. The culture today, as I see it, is very looks-based. It's very appearance-based. Looks seem to be like number one, if not number one, very close to number one. They're very important to a lot of people. One way of seeing this is in our chosen influencers and celebrities. They have seemingly based their careers off of looks. So you might say, that's not really true. They do stuff, they act. And I would say, if you were going to copy Charli D'Amelio, what would you copy? What would you actually mimic? There's like nothing there. It's a looks-based career, and I'm not gonna even dog on that. Like, it's not even a bad thing. But I'm just pointing out, it's looks-based. Their careers are looks-based. Looks are very important to a lot of people. You might say there are creators who are equally as popular or more popular that are not as conventionally attractive. I would say you're right, but you're missing the point a little bit. I'm not saying that you have to be attractive in order to be popular, but it certainly helps quite a bit, and you can even make a whole career based on that alone, I think. Furthermore, there's this idea circulating that you can mog on somebody, mogging, or looksmaxxing in order to mog. Looksmaxxing is another idea that's prominent in this space. And essentially what mogging is what you do is you look better than somebody in a particular way, and then you're able to just mog on them. You can mog, eye mog, face mog, you can ear mog, foot mog on a foot model. If you want, you can mog on somebody. And it's all part of this looksmaxxing part of the internet. And it's kind of a funny meme until you realize that people have created careers off of this idea, this looksmaxxing idea. Like this guy, Brett Maverick. No hate to him. Don't hate him. He's simply built a career off looksmaxxing. And that's fine. You can do that if you want. It's just like, it's a serious thing. People take it seriously. And beyond that, people will create before and after images of their looksmaxxing journey, further emphasizing this idea of looksmaxxing. Like, you can max out your looks, you can improve your looks. And people take this seriously. They strive for this. They want to be a part of this thing that's happening, this looksmaxxing thing. If you want further evidence of that, just go to TikTok and look up Looksmaxxing. Like there's so much Looksmaxxing content on the internet. You could spend every remaining hour of your lifespan watching new videos about Looksmaxxing. Like it's huge. It's a huge thing on the internet. Not like abnormally huge, but like it's substantial. It's a huge thing on the internet. There's nothing. And when we value our celebrities this way, when we value our influencers, when it's filling up our For You pages and overflowing on our feeds, these ideas of looks and Looksmaxxing and appearance-based content, it creates this idea in our head that is what is valuable, that we can only be valuable if we look good. But we sort of start to associate parts of our identity and therefore our personal value with our appearances. Just to make that a little more clear, everybody kind of has their own idea of what their identity is. And for so many people today, I feel like it's shifting over into your identity has a lot to do with how you look and what you wear. That's very important to people. Thus, the whole looks matter more than personality thing. As we start to evaluate ourselves this way, we feel like garbage because we don't look the way we think we should look. We start to think, I should look that way. We start to change how we think we should look and how we think we should feel about how we should look because of this online culture. We start to feel worthless. We start to feel no value at all. We need it. We have to have it. People are looking for some form of confidence in themselves, and they're putting it in their looks. I think that's really key here. And I'm going to dive into that a lot deeper later. But for now, I just want to go back for a second to something we talked about a minute ago. In this world where looks are ultimately important, or at least very important, what do we do? What do we do in that dystopia of looks? Well, I've already told you the answer. We Looksmaxx. We have to look. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hey, can you hear me? I don't know if this is coming through, but my name is Disclaimer Daniel, and I'm here to clarify anything that this guy right here, anything that he doesn't clarify, I clarify. Okay. So you may have noticed he has not defined this term Looksmaxxing yet. So basically, I'm going to do that now, and then when he does it later, then it'll add on to my definition, and then we'll be cool. We'll be Gucci. Looksmaxxing is basically this thing where there's different methods where you can maximize your looks, quote unquote, maximize your looks, usually from home. And Looksmaxxing also claims that there are like ranks of attractiveness, and that using Looksmaxxing you can jump several ranks. Basically, why would anybody not do this if it's so simple and so easy to just maximize your looks from home? Why would not everybody be doing this, basically? But he has not defined it yet, so I thought I'd do that for you. And yeah, I think I just gotta, did somebody just raise their hand, or Looksmaxx, it's the only way out. We Looksmaxx. I mean, it answers every question. If you want to be popular, you Looksmaxx. If you want to find love, if you want to love max, you gotta Looksmaxx. You have to Looksmaxx. If you want to have a life, if you want to bread max, you have to Looksmaxx. It's the only way to move forward. So what do we do in this world where if we want success in relationships and life overall, we have to look good. We have to look especially good. What do? Well, we Looksmaxx. That's all there is to it. But we have to ask ourselves, in that world where success is locked behind those things, behind Looksmaxxing, at least I have to ask myself, I really have to ask, is it real? Is Looksmaxxing, is it even real? Does it actually work? And that's what we're going to discuss in this next section. So I'm going to send you over to my co-host. So just stay tuned. Grab you a snacky, grab you a Lay's potato chip, and just tune in for a second, okay? Oi. The name, Gooning Gabriel, but most people just call me Gabe for short. In this section, we're going to be discussing Looksmaxxing, and we're going to try to really find out if this thing is real or not. So what we're going to do, essentially what we're going to do is we're going to take a bunch of different Looksmaxxing methods and we're gonna decide if it's real or if it's fake, okay? If it's real, we're gonna put a tally up here on the wall, all right? But if it's fake, well, I'm gonna take the life of an innocent squirrel with this blade, okay? All right, and I've, right there, look, right there. I see you, buddy. I see that squirrel up there, okay? My sights are on you, little guy, all right? You're dead meat if this stuff is fake. You might say that's a little bit harsh, but you don't understand me, okay? I've been in this jungle for a long time. I climbed Mewing Mountain, all right? I've been through Mogging Meadows. I know how it goes. I don't feel the pain anymore. I'm numb to the trauma, okay? The trauma of breaking my bones in order to change my bone structure. I'm numb to it, okay? I've whittled down and shaved my teeth off, all right, to get a perfect smile. I've bleached my teeth. I'm not scared anymore, okay? If this stuff is real, I'm putting a tally up. If it's fake, it's happening. You think I'm scared of killing one little stuffed squirrel? Nah. I'm not scared. I'm lively, okay? Lively, all right? I just freaking ripped one on it. Really, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a tally up for real, I'm gonna put a tally up for fake, and whichever one wins is the winner, all right? Also, if there's Looksmaxxing methods here that you think should be in here but are not in here, I'm sorry, I can only do so much research, okay? If you think that one should be in here, I encourage you to go do your own research on that, okay? Go find out if it's real or if it's fake. Put a tally up in your house, on your wall, all right? This is actually very sharp. That's exceedingly sharp. I'm just gonna put that right there. Okay. In fact, I'm actually gonna back up like 3 feet. I should not be within 3 feet of a blade. Bruh, you made it to the Looksmaxxing section of this video. Congratulations. If you are still watching, thank you for watching this far in the video. Unfortunately, Gooning Gabriel did not make it this far in the video. He had to go pee-pee, so we're gonna miss him. Comment Gooning Gabriel down below. I figured since you made it to the Looksmaxxing section of the video, I'm not sure I even defined that in the last section. I might as well do that now. Essentially what Looksmaxxing is, in my opinion, is it's like the belief that you can maximize your looks. But it's more than that. I think it's like there's an inherent belief in there somewhere that you can substantially increase your attractiveness to the point where you're jumping up levels of attractiveness. It sort of goes with this idea that there are ranks of attractiveness and you can like jump 3 or 4 levels by Looksmaxxing. It's also usually associated with like these homebrew methods that almost anybody would have access to, which makes it more accessible and more popular. It's like a secret knowledge, like anybody can be doing this. Why aren't you doing it? It's Looksmaxxing. Everybody. But yeah, that's kind of what Looksmaxxing is. Since we got that out of the way, I figure I might as well jump straight into the first Looksmaxxing method I wanted to talk about, which is a common one, and one I feel like has to be real. It's skincare. This is skincare real? There's a whole section in Walmart for this, so that it better be real. Like there better actually be some proof that this stuff actually works. And there kinda is, okay? So for this section, I really use this YouTube video right here as my groundwork. It was kind of what guided me through the research. This YouTube video by this doctor, whose name I'm gonna pronounce later. We're going with Usama Syed. This doctor gives us this infographic right here, and that infographic basically tells us all the different ingredients, the different things we need in our skincare products that are actually good. He affirms that these actually work. These are important ingredients that will actually improve your skin quality, whether it be acne, wrinkles, photo aging, that kind of stuff. But he also points out that in all the common brands that we see today, there isn't really proof that they actually work. And he points out that there are limitations on our knowledge of how well these things actually penetrate the skin barrier. What's the quality of the content? What's the quantity? These are things we don't know about these products. We're going off the knowledge that these products do have the proper ingredients in them, the actual right stuff from the infographic right here, but we don't know how well those ingredients are actually implemented in the product and how well they're actually going to help us out. So yes, skincare products probably work if they have those ingredients, these ingredients from the infographic, but we can't really confirm that. That's not confirmable. So just sort of as a rule of thumb, just check your ingredients and use it as instructed, and it will probably help you out. And if it's not looking like it does, then stop using it. If, of course, the product you're using doesn't include these ingredients, maybe it's a strange TikTok potion you bought, it probably doesn't work at all. And you can safely assume that if it doesn't include these ingredients, or if worse, even worse, it doesn't even tell you what ingredients it does include. Don't use those. Use something that actually has the ingredients it's supposed to have. And if there was any doubt about that infographic I showed, this one, I looked into a couple of the ingredients that are on that infographic, and I just sort of did some quick preliminary research into how effective they actually are. For instance, retinoids or retinol in this study right here was shown to actually help with acne. Like, it was helping people decrease the amount of acne they had. So there is evidence for these products. You can keep looking into that if you want. So basically, this stuff is real, kind of. There's not really proof that these specific products work, but yeah, it's probably real. So I'm gonna give skincare a tally for real. Show me the squirrel. All right, a tally for real. There you go. Look at that. And yeah, congratulations to the squirrel. The squirrel gets to live for a little bit longer. The stuffed squirrel. Don't get your hopes up, though. Squirrel, I'm looking at you. All right. You can keep on sweating, buddy, because things are not looking up. This is easy mode, okay? This is easy. Don't think you're out of the woods yet, bud. Alright. Good take, good take. What is wrong with my face? It's crooked. Whatever. Teeth. I want to talk about teeth for a minute. I'm gonna turn that off. Ugh. Okay. Yeah, I have two of the exact same chair. Why do you ask? As I mentioned a moment ago, I want to talk about teeth for a second. Your beautiful pearly whites. Or maybe not. Maybe they're not that white. Maybe you want them to be white. Looksmaxxing. You can fix that by whitening them. How do you whiten teeth? Well, there's a few ways. I want to focus specifically on whitening your teeth from home, because that's sort of the Looksmaxxing way, is doing it from home. You can really perfect yourself while at home. That's the idea of Looksmaxxing. True or not? For instance, in this study right here, the researchers found there's evidence that, yeah, your teeth will be whiter if you use an assortment of different at-home whitening methods. However, there isn't really a best method. They're all kind of the same. Additionally, I want to talk about this thing. I want to talk about this thing for a minute. These LED blue light strips. It's like the most expensive way to whiten your teeth at home. And I want to know if it's real. So first I researched it, and I found that, for instance, on this Healthline article right here, hold it, it's me, disclaimer Daniel, I'm back. This guy right here, this guy, he forgot to mention that Healthline is not perfect. I'm using them for this, but they have sources they cite. Sometimes they will use sources that just don't have anything to do with the subject matter at all. You'll find that out later in this video. But yeah, he forgot to mention that fun fact. So what's new with you? You'll find there's two different studies posed against each other, and one says it does work, one says it doesn't. So I wanted to know with a little bit more certainty, does this stuff actually work? Is it worth your money? And I found this journal, The Strategist, which basically reviews products. And in this journal, they cite a study in which 37% hydrogen peroxide was used, and these tooth whitening strip things, these tooth whitening blue lights actually worked, apparently. However, that 37% hydrogen peroxide is a very high concentration. And with a very high concentration, you're really not going to find that in an at-home product like one of these blue light whitening strips. It's just not how it works. You're not going to get those because when you use too much hydrogen peroxide, it can hurt you. But I'm going to get to that in a second. Additionally, this Strategist journal article says that these blue lights can't do the thing that they're supposed to do. They're supposed to break down this hydrogen peroxide more quickly to bleach the teeth even more quickly than they would by themselves, or than hydrogen peroxide would by itself. But when you're using such high percentages of hydrogen peroxide, that's not really what you're going to find in a at-home kit. It's just not, you're not going to get that much. Usually they're going to be around 15% according to this journal, and that's something I found elsewhere as I researched. If you didn't notice, I bought the thing myself, and I didn't notice much of a difference. I used it over about 2 weeks. I didn't really see a huge difference. I saw something, but it could just be the fact that I'm using hydrogen peroxide gel to activate. That's supposed to activate the gel, and it was just doing its job on its own. So really, don't waste your money on these things. It's not worth it. So yeah, that's a point for Looksmaxxing. This stuff actually works, or at least tooth whitening actually works at home. Maybe avoid the LED blue light strips. Thoughts and prayers for the squirrel, because we want to see him thrive. We want to see him looking good. But this Looksmaxxing stuff, it better be real. It better be real if it's gonna keep the squirrel alive. Oh boy. Hello there. In this section, I'm going to talk about something else. Speaking of teeth, there's another Looksmaxxing method I want to talk about here. Some people will try to shave their teeth. Shave their teeth to have a perfect smile. They'll file them down with a file. Don't do that. You could shave right through the enamel, straight down to your dentin. Okay? That's true, and then you'll have tooth sensitivity for the rest of your life. You don't want that. Come on. Don't do it. So basically just don't do that. That's stupid. Another one is Okay. We're vibing. Oh yeah. There's also another one. Basically, some people try to break their face bones in order to reshape their face, and they appeal to Wolff's Law, okay? Now, here's an article right there on Wolff's Law, and this is a gross misunderstanding of Wolff's Law. You can't break your face bones to reshape your face, okay? First of all, you could terribly, horribly damage your face muscles. There's a ton of face muscles that are very complex, and you could hurt them very badly. Second of all, according to that article I just pointed at a minute ago, there's a elastic point, okay, at which, there's an elastic point at which you're going to just fracture your bone. Now, if you push your bone past this elastic point, you're going to fracture it, and then it's doing you no good, okay? Wolff's Law works when you progressively overload
your bones or just load them, and then they can change due to that pressure. That's Wolff's Law, and it's not even universally applicable, so it doesn't even apply here. So don't freaking break your face bones. Don't break your face bones. Okay, you look like me right now. Oh. 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 Oh.
Okay, I like this one. This one should be pretty easy, pretty straightforward, pretty straight back. I'm just gonna find the best posture exercises on YouTube, and I'm just gonna recreate those for you guys, and you should be able to just fix your posture snippety snap, like just like that. I'm gonna make like a VHS style like workout video, but for posture it should be fun. So just you know, grab a mat and come on, join in, okay? But first I've got to find those. I gotta find those videos. So let's do that. Okay. So I've just got to find posture correction methods. YouTube, maybe. Posture correction exercises. How many? Really? What? 511? What? That was a lot of stuff that I just saw. I was originally going to film a VHS style workout, work with me tape, where I just kind of did some posture exercises and then I fixed my posture. Here we go. In order to fix your posture, you have to do these 3 exercises. That's all there was to it. Because I was under the belief, or the assumption, that you can just fix your posture with some drills every day, and then boom, bada bing, bada boom, you're good. But I kept looking and looking and looking and never finding a consistent answer. How many? So I started to think like, maybe there's not, maybe like, are these all good posture exercises, or are some of them bad, or I don't know. There's like, what is the actual like, what is the science behind this? Finally, after a lot more searching than I thought, I found this video right here by a guy named Jeff Nippard, like hard nips. I was distraught. I was destroyed by this video. I was absolutely obliterated. It says like, yeah, you can't fix your posture. Then I thought, have I been wrong? Have I been completely wrong? It's not even the exercises, it's that you can't even fix it at all. Have I been totally wrong? So in this section of the video, I am going to try to explain how to fix your posture, if you can at all, for the sake of aesthetics, Looksmaxxing, that's what we're doing here. But I'm gonna use this video as like a vehicle to explain that. So in this video by Jeff Nippard, show pictures of his hard nips here. Thanks, Joe, editing Joe, thank you. He basically presents 4 different myths. I'm gonna tackle maybe one of them. He says back pain isn't caused by posture, that's a myth. He says slouched posture isn't even technically bad posture. He says you can't fix your posture. This one's key. You can't fix your posture with 10-minute daily drills. Okay. And then finally he says that overall fixing posture isn't really something that's usually worth actually doing. And also I'll add that this whole situation that I'm about to present to you gives a really good argument for why you shouldn't just trust YouTube videos or use YouTube as your research algorithm, because it's just not good for that, okay? There's a lot of stuff on here and a lot of people don't cite their sources. Jeff does, but we're gonna get to that in a second. I realize how ironic that is considering what's happening right here, right now, what I'm doing, but I thought it was worth mentioning because yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of misleading YouTube videos that might make you think something that's really not that true. I hope not to be one of those, because I have the document. There it
One source.
Thanks for that sound effect, Joe, of the editing room. I'm sure that was really good. So, I'm gonna be honest. I spent a lot of time on this part of the video, this posture part of the video, and I really wanted to be definitive about my answer. Spoiler alert, it's not gonna be super definitive, but I think I do have an answer for you, so just wait me out here. I was also going to do this section where I analyze Jeff's whole video and say what's good and bad about it, and at the end of the day, this video that he made, Jeff, is just not that clear. It's not a very clear video. It says multiple things in multiple places of the video. It says you can and you can't fix your posture. I mean, the title literally says you can't fix your posture. Combine it with the fact that he says bad posture isn't really a thing. It's not a real thing. There's no bad posture. It sort of gives off this idea that not only can you not fix your posture, but you shouldn't even worry about it. It's literally what he says. Even Jeff's podcast associated with this video literally says, Dr. Spinelli, who's one of the guys he interviews, one of the doctors he interviews, says that if you do upper body work, you're gonna get a lot more return. That's literally that's like the quote. I'll put it up on screen, but that's the quote. And it's like, so can I fix my posture or can I not? The video is probably accurate in what it says, but it is definitely not clear. So I'm left asking, can I improve my posture, Jeff? Can I do that? Can I improve it? I don't know. You're spazzing me out here a little bit. Like, I just want to know, can I improve it or not? I just want to know that. Like, I'm on my feet here, dude. I want to fix my posture. Like, look at this. Oh no. It's not good, bro. I need this. The video also like cites sources for some things really, really well. Like so much better than any other YouTuber on the whole internet. And at the very same time, doesn't give you any sources at all for other things. It makes claims about both, but then source, no source. What's up with that, Jeff? For back pain, for there being no link between text neck and back pain, he gives tons of sources. The description is inundated with source after source. It's great. But then when it comes to daily drills not working, trust me, bro. You know, like, where's the source at? This is a little bit of an exaggeration because he does talk to Dr. Spinelli and the other guy. There's no clear like evidence that you can't correct your posture. You have to pick a side, nip hard. You have to pick a side. And this isn't supposed to be like a zinger or something. I'm not trying to start drama. I'm just saying, if you're gonna make a video called "You Can't Fix Your Posture," like, make sure you can't fix your posture. And quick spoiler, those daily drills he talked about, they actually probably will help. And this may or may not be what Jeff was trying to say, but there's no denying that the marketing for this video is at least a little bit misleading. I mean, it sent me down the posture rabbit hole. I believed it. I'm gullible. I believed it. I also want to note that regarding said rabbit hole, posture rabbit hole, that's a deep hole. This was not an easy thing to research. There's a lot of moving parts here. And even more so, it's not the topic of this video. Looksmaxxing is what I'm focusing on right now, but that's not even the topic of the video either. So if you're still watching, I really appreciate you. Thank you. But for now, all I can say is, screw it. I want to talk about Jeff for a little bit longer. Yeah, if you're not interested in Jeff, skip to this point in the video. For now, if you're interested in hearing what I have to say about Jeff, continue watching. So I put it into a couple or 3 or something different points here. Number 1, I'm not convinced that Jeff is correct about back pain and posture not being linked at all. I also, just like Jeff, got in contact with 2 professionals in my area who I will keep anonymous for privacy reasons. My privacy, not theirs. One of them, who we'll call Mr. Busa. Here he is. Mr. Busa. He's a physical therapist in my area, and he said this in our interview: bad posture doesn't cause back pain. What would you say to that?
I would say that if all of my patients had perfect posture, I would say 3/4 of my patients I wouldn't see.
Right.
They wouldn't have problems.
But the studies Jeff cited are seemingly good. For his sources, check the doc.
One source.
So on that one, I'm going to say I'm not sure. I don't know. It probably is a little bit more complicated than posture and back pain are just not linked, but I think, I don't know. Number 2, I'm also not convinced that, like Jeff says, there's no such thing as good or bad posture. He literally says upright posture is good and slouching is bad. He calls that a myth. I disagree, or at least I'm just bothered by how unclear that is. Based on this textbook I found, it talks pretty extensively about a proper alignment of the posture in order to maintain the function of the body. Here's a quote. I also interviewed a chiropractor, who I will call Mr. Bean. and he straight up disagreed with there being no such thing as good or bad posture. Is there a proper posture, or is it more of like, depending on where you're at that point in time?
Oh, no, there is definitely an ideal posture. Yeah, and there's some techniques in chiropractic that are, like, one is called CBP, chiropractic biophysics, and that is like all they do, or well, it's not all they do, but their main intent change into the ideal postural position.
Also, Mr. Busa said that for every inch forward that the head leans, 10 more pounds of strain are put onto the back and the neck. I also found the study that he probably used to say that. Here it is in the doc.
One of source.
I understand that Jeff may have been saying that slouching is bad sometimes and not other times. In fact, I think that's probably exactly what he was saying, rather than just saying slouching is good or something. Of course, that's not what I'm saying that he's saying. I think the video is just really unclear. He even says in the video that no one is advocating for you to slouch all the time. Like, that's obviously not true. I think he's advocating for a variety of postures. Like he says, your next posture is your best posture. And Mr. Busa said a very similar thing. But he doesn't present the seemingly clear reality that there is such a thing as good posture. Like, that's real. There is good posture. Instead, referring to what Dr. Spinelli says as it being moral or something. Like, I don't think so. I don't agree. I could be wrong. It could be miscommunication or misunderstanding. But it's just, I don't agree. At the very least, it's just not clear. And 3, and finally, moving beyond my initial disagreements with the video, this is the important one. Jeff seems to say that you can't fix your posture. We have to remember that we're looking at Looksmaxxing and trying to correct posture for aesthetic reasons. So that's what we're here for. And in response to that, Jeff seems to say that you can't fix your posture. Maybe. I mean, it is like the title of the video. If you look at, as we mentioned earlier, or showed earlier, all the different videos about posture correction, the vast majority of the time, it's about fixing how you look. And so, I know that Jeff knew this, and I know that he knew people were going to see it this way. So I just don't know. Like I mentioned earlier, Jeff does not offer much in terms of like direct evidence that you can't fix your posture using 10-minute daily drills. He doesn't talk about any exercises, really. He just says, do compound lifts, and that will help your posture. So can I fix my posture? Is he referring to back pain only when he talks about compound lifts? Is he, I don't know. He refers to the doctors that he interviews as his evidence for this, which is fine. I don't have any problem with that, but from the podcast he released with Dr. Spinelli and the video itself, it seems to be the case that they're more talking about back pain than they are about the aesthetic appearance of posture, but that's not really it's not really what he's representing with this video. And also in that podcast with Dr. Spinelli, they even talk about fixing posture more generally, I assume for, you know, the function aspect, like actually fixing your posture, and it seems to say that you can, maybe. It's just not clear at all. And if Jeff is in fact saying that you cannot fix your posture using exercises or stretching, then to his benefit, some of the research is actually on his side. I went and did the research for him. I'm just joking. Please don't come after me, Jeff. For instance, this study right here finds that it's unlikely that doing exercises in the gym is going to have any effect on your posture. There's just not enough time to actually shorten the right muscles and lengthen the other muscles in order to fix posture, which is generally the idea that you're going to hear online. And he also provides this resource in his description, and if you dig into that resource quite a bit, you'll find a link to a study where it says that you can't help your posture with hamstring stretches, which is a common stretch associated with posture correction. And that's probably not all the research that corroborates Jeff's point, but it's all the good stuff I could find. On the other hand, I was actually able to find quite a bit of research saying that posture correction exercises can have a positive effect on your posture. For instance, this study right here, which talks about thoracic extension exercises giving you a better kyphosis angle. Kyphosis, as Jeff talks about, is this rounding of the back, usually that thoracic area, but it can be any part. That forward lean, right? And then another study, cervical sustained natural. Okay, whatever that is, it seems to improve the appearance of posture, so something can help, apparently. Yet another one where they used elastic bands to help improve posture using posture exercises. Here's the whole thing right here. Oop, there it goes. There's the whole thing. Maybe try that out if you want to correct your posture. I don't know, it might work. Seems like there's evidence for it. Or this study, something called the McKinsey method, which, as far as I can tell, is like a way of categorizing back pain. But apparently, according to like 6 different studies I found, maybe less, but maybe more, if you use the McKinsey method, you can actually improve your posture. Like that angle, that craniovertebral angle, this one, I'm going to show a picture of it online. That's that forward head posture. Forward head posture is very important. That's usually what people are talking about when That's what people are talking about when they have bad posture. Most or all of these studies referring to underdeveloped back muscles and tight chest muscles as a possible reason for bad posture. Something you can correct, seemingly, maybe. Finally, the study right here, which seems to say that strengthening the core can help improve posture. The logic of most of these studies, as far as I can tell, goes a little something like this. That's a lot, I understand. If you want to read it, you can pause. Simply put, it just means if you strengthen the right muscles, those back muscles, mid traps, rhomboids, that kind of thing, and you extend or stretch, or I guess just stretch. If you stretch these pectoral muscles, you can see some improvement in posture. That's the basic idea. A big part of this is that we need to look into the reasons that people are actually becoming worse posturally. And one of the main claims is that it has to do with sitting at a desk and how people sit in the car. The textbook indicates that from earlier. And there's a quote. This general idea of tight chest muscles, stretched, weak back muscles, it aligns with much of, if not pretty much all of what you're going to see on YouTube. But what most of those videos miss is this cause, what's causing it. And I think that's something that's worth pointing out. It's not like these exercises that are going to help with those things aren't going to do anything. It's just that they probably won't help with posture without addressing the cause. You have to combine these daily drills and these compound exercises in the gym with addressing the actual root problem. Mr. Beam had to say this about that.
What I find is that there is a lack of balance and alignment, and so there's a compensation. And you can't fix a compensation, you have to fix what's causing it.
Right.
So people are like, yeah, physical therapy has me doing an hour of exercises every day, and my wife still says my posture is horrible.
And Mr. Busa. So what are some of the causes that you might run into?
Well, so you have your environmental issues, which is, how your space is set up, how your car is set up when you drive. Are you sitting in a real cushy leather couch that you're sunken back into and streaming Netflix for 3 hours at a time or gaming for 4 hours at a time?
Yeah.
So again, identifying the underlying cause. Some of it is just, maybe you're too tall and you're sitting in a chair that's too small.
At this point, this is what I would say to somebody who asks me, I want to fix my posture for aesthetic reasons to make myself look better. I would say this. Going to the gym definitely won't hurt. It's probably helpful, and I am just going to speak anecdotally for a moment. I've never seen a huge bodybuilder with bad posture. It just doesn't really happen. When you're performing compound lifts like a squat, or even hopefully bench press, or anything like that, if you're doing it correctly, you're going to be employing correct posture, because that's how you do those lifts. And so at least for part of your day, you're going to have correct posture, and you're also strengthening those muscles. Like Jeff said, I think you should, when you're sitting down, like me right now, maybe change posture a little bit, grab a pillow, put it behind your back, maybe move the pillow sometimes. Don't stay in like one posture the whole time. It isn't horrible to slouch when you're at your desk. Don't get that idea. So I think that's true. So going back to that original question, which exercises should I choose? Which YouTube video do I choose? Well, I'll answer both of those. I think you should follow these tips from Mr. Busa on like some exercises. Like what sort of exercises might you recommend?
Sure, yeah. So typically, and again, without knowing the underlying cause, we're doing a lot of generalizations, which is fine.
Right.
But typically you want to stretch out the anterior chest, so your pectoralis major, your pectoralis minor. So stretching those muscles out. A lot of times, strengthening your rhomboids and your middle trapezius muscles to get your shoulder blades so they're closer together in the back.
And then here's a video I found. Mr. Busa recommended this guy called the Posture Guy on YouTube.
He's called the Posture Guy.
There's a link to his video in the doc.
One of source.
I think it's a really good video. It's long, it might be really boring, but there's nothing wrong with long and boring. I'm long and boring. And you'll probably get way more out of that video than any of these other videos because it'll talk about addressing that cause of the posture problem and give you some exercise tips on how to correct what's already been done badly. You can't do one or the other. You have to do both. So yeah, that's my answer. Hello, people who skipped to this part. How you doing? You missed out on Jeff. And speaking of Jeff, just for crystal clear communication, I don't dislike Jeff. I think Jeff's cool. I think he's one of the best fitness influencers in the whole scene. Simply because he's not on steroids. Like, congratulations. And he cited sources. None of these freaking posture videos cite sources. None of them. And overall, his video made a great vehicle for talking about Looksmaxxing with posture. Because posture is, believe it or not, a pretty important Looksmaxxing method. A lot of people will cite it and just say, it's really good. It's so easy. Just correct your posture. Just do it. And then what people do is they look it up online and they say, oh, okay, I'll correct my posture with this video. But that's just not, come on, it's not that simple. It really isn't. I know people might be saying, Joe, you've wasted all this time on posture. Dude, I'm having fun with this YouTube video, okay? So just let me talk about what I want to talk about. It's a lot easier to put out a video where you just say, do these things and your posture will fix itself. But it's a lot better to put a video out where I say exactly how to fix it and cite sources. And at the very least, even if you don't look at the doc even once and you don't care, you at least know you have to address the root cause of the posture impairment and you have to stretch and work, exercise. It's a part of a process. I think I'm gonna give that to I'm gonna give that to me because no, you know what? Screw it. I'll give it to Looksmaxxing. The squirrel gets to live. That's a Looksmaxxing method. It is real. It's way less clear than just fix your posture, but it's definitely, you can if you want. Put it on the wall, squirrel. No, squirrel. Yo, put that thing on the wall, squirrel. Put that thing up there. You gotta stay in the gym, even when you're at home. Even when you sleep, you have to stay in the gym. One of the most commonly cited Looksmaxxing methods is just going to the gym and working out. A lot of people like to say that being more muscular isn't more attractive, but that's not really true either. There's a study for that can get you started. Generally speaking, yes, being more muscular or just more fit will make you more attractive. The only other claim I could find online that seemed to indicate that, man, these are light, but jeez, man, 20-pound weights are doing the job not too badly. The only other claim I could find online that seemed to indicate that maybe going to the gym wasn't like a good Looksmaxxing method, because I like this one, I think it's a good Looksmaxxing method, was the idea that you could go to the gym and work out, but at the end of the day your genetics control how well you do at the gym. Some people online like to say this, they're like doomers, basically, if you've ever heard of that. They believe it's all genetic determinism and you have no control. And that's kind of true, kind of. For instance, in this study here, different levels of fast twitch and slow twitch muscle fibers resulted in different potentials in the gym, potentials athletically. I don't have full access to that study though, so I found this textbook which has a very similar thing. And it seems to be the case that fast twitch or slow twitch, i.e. low oxidative, high oxidative muscle fibers and their variants have a pretty big impact on your ability to build muscle and be athletic in various ways. Beyond that, I found these two studies which presented a significant claim that there's lots of different polymorphisms or genetic variations, basically, I think, that could result in different potentials athletically or in the gym. And these studies seem to indicate that genetics could account for upwards of 50% of the athletic ability of an individual. Like 50%, like half. And so I found that and I started to think like 50%, like half. Like what am I doing here? Am I wasting my money at the gym? Like is it worth it? I would say that it is worth it. Both of these studies I just mentioned both say at different points that this is not final research. We don't know for sure that it's 50%, but it seems to be the case. So that doesn't really negate the point, it just says, hey, it's up in the air. In a very similar way that it's up in the air regarding how much genetic or muscle building potential you have in the gym. Like, we don't know that just because it accounts for 50% doesn't mean everybody's got the same 50%, right? It varies depending on the person. Maybe your 50% is really good and you just have to go to the gym to find out that you have that potential. Beyond that, both of these studies talk about athletes. Specifically, one of them talks about elite athletes. And I don't think I have any elite athletes watching. If I do, shout out. But like, most of us aren't elite athletes. I don't think that's really normally what we're worried about. We just want to know that we can improve our appearance. And I think we totally can. Like if a woman came up to me and said, should I go to the gym? I don't have the same genetic potential as an average man. Then, like, of course I would say yes. It's gonna be an improvement for anybody who actually goes to the gym. So yeah, I think that you should go to the gym. I think it's gonna help you out. If you stick to a consistent strength training schedule and you consistently, progressively overload and have the right diet, you're gonna improve how you look. You just are. It's like the first Looksmaxxing method that I can fully endorse. I fully endorse it. Yes, pay for the gym, unless it's like ridiculously expensive where you live. Like, yeah, it's worth it. It's worth it. You will improve your appearance. If there's any Looksmaxxing method I can actually recommend, it's this one. Like, do it. That's definitely a point for the squirrel. Get him. I'm on top of this guy's cranium dome chamber. I'm on top of some big skull. I'm just a little guy on top of a big skull. How am I gonna get down from the top of this big skull? This looks real, right? I think so. And this Looksmaxxing method is, well, what it says is that you can improve your jawline by chewing gum a lot or something. And I'm not gonna lie, I was actually a big proponent of this one before I started researching this video. But we'll get into that in just a second. Essentially, the idea goes that if you chew gum for long enough, you'll work these muscles right here, these masseter muscles, the ones that go on that bone right there, the mandible, and then they'll get big and you'll have a big jawline, basically. And it sounds pretty believable, like you can build muscles up, right? But I'm kind of iffy on it. I looked it up first. Healthline, obviously, I've talked about Healthline before, I'm sure. Disclaimer, Daniel has told you about how I feel about Healthline. Whoa, is my camera on? Regardless of all that, this particular Healthline article is actually really good. It's a great example of why you shouldn't always trust Healthline. They provide two sources in support of gum chewing not being a very good way to improve your jawline, but the first source kind of just says it'll help your cheek muscles get stronger, kind of, and then the second one literally says that your masticatory muscles, it says those ones will be stronger, and these are those the right ones, but neither of them say anything about jaw size or jaw appearance being any better. They're just sort of imputing these studies as evidence for some reason, and I don't know why. So I had to do my own research, and honestly, there's no evidence that you can actually improve your jawline using gum chewing, or even really at all. when you train these masseter muscles, there's not a lot of evidence that that actually makes the appearance of your jawline any better. So I dug a little bit deeper, and essentially what I found was that even in the magical world where you actually are able to hypertrophy your masseter muscles evenly and improve your jawline, even in that perfect world, you're probably going to run into relatively bad or not good at all temporomandibular joint disorders before you ever get the results you're looking for. The evidence is a lot more clear that you will hurt yourself chewing gum before you'll ever actually improve your jawline. For instance, this study right here, which says it seems to be the case that when people chew gum as a habit, they can develop those disorders of this joint right here, that joint right there. And another study that was done on children, that's kind of crazy. Once again, both of those are in the doc.
One source.
Gum chewing seems to be, as far as I can tell, categorized as something called a parafunctional habit, which is a way of working a muscle out in a method that's not really meant for that muscle. And these two studies right here, in case there's any question, categorize gum chewing as a parafunctional habit. And at the end of the day, and this might just be conjecture, I don't know, as far as I can tell, the main showing of this jawline, what really makes you have that Chad jawline, it's not your masseter muscles, it's your mandible, this bone, that bone right there. So if you don't have a good mandible, you're just not going to have the real estate to have good masseters, to have a good jawline. You need the mandible first. You need that. You can chew however much gum you want, but if your masseters are way too big for your face, in the world where you actually can grow them significantly, you're just going to have weirdly big jaw muscles and a small jaw. Maybe I'm wrong, but that just seems to be the case. And shout out to all the companies selling jaw improvement, gum, and jaw exercise, all these things. There's no evidence they actually work. They're literally selling it on a unproven hypothesis. In fact, there's a good chance they'll hurt you. So that's another point for me, I'd say. Put it on the wall, squirrel. Alright, this is probably... Yoink. Whoa. I don't know what that is. Hey, I see you're waiting there. Yep, you got me. It's finally time. The final Looksmaxxing method of this video. I know we've covered quite a few here, but there's so many more. However, I just couldn't pass up on this final Looksmaxxing method. Also, if we're at the final Looksmaxxing method, that means it's finally time to answer the question of the video. Do looks matter more than personality? Or vice versa? Or something different? Well, we've made it. Time really blows by. Time flies by. Some of you may have guessed what the final Looksmaxxing method is going to be, and you're right. The final method is obviously going to be Wait a second. Where's Gooning Gabriel? I feel like I haven't seen him in like 3 days, or at least like 3 hours. And he's been here since the beginning of this whole thing. We have to include him in the final Looksmaxxing method. But he's just, I don't know. Last thing he said he was doing was he was going number 2. No! Gooning Gabriel is no longer alive. I have to call somebody right now. Beep boop boop. Hello? Is this the Detective Michael speaking? You can just call me Mogging Michael. Where's his body at? Oh. What happened to him, Mogging Michael? What made him not be alive? It seems that Gooning Gabriel has been mewing. Huh? I know Gabe. He wouldn't mew. He knows better. I'm just gonna let him take care of this. Unless there must be something more to mewing than I suspected. Welcome to my office. This is my safe place where I study these books I have. Books about crime and criminals, and how to learn about books about crime and criminals. It was a great shame what happened to young Gabriel. He was a real asset to our community. I knew him since he was young. Now he's finally going the big number 3. But that's not why you're here. You're here to learn about mewing. Yeah. It's a scary thing. For 1,000 years it's been thought to be fake, but now it seems some evidence is appearing. Mewing may not be so fake after all. But what exactly is mewing? Well, I'll tell you what seems to be the case. Seemingly, mewing is this thing where you press your tongue to the top of your mouth, a bone called the maxilla, and when you do that, the pressure created by doing that sort of flexes these muscles and in some way or other will make your face look better. It will improve your jawline. That's what people say mewing is, but they're all wrong about it. The real question they should be asking is, what is a mew? Shouts out to my boy William Brennan, who wrote the article where I got most of this info from. Check the doc. One of source. So I'll start by explaining the history of mewing as I understand it. It all started with a young man named John Mew. John Mew believed that ugly faces were horrible. He hated ugly faces. He even thought that there were so many ugly faces in the world, he would have called it an epidemic. And every epidemic needs a cure. And for his cure, John Mew proposed orthotropics, a whole upheaval of the idea of orthodontics. Away with braces, now John thought that malocclusion was the main reason our faces are ugly. And he went further to say that what causes malocclusion is not genetics so much as its environment. Through his analysis of the archaeological record and the cadavers that he had access to, John Mew found that malocclusion, the improper bite that I talked about, didn't really exist before a certain point. And that certain point was actually fairly recent, linking it up with around the agricultural revolution or the industrial revolution. And as he observed this absence of malocclusion in these not so ancient skulls, he came to his own conclusion. He thought that the maxilla, this bone, this bone right here, was the main culprit for malocclusion. John Mew's assertion that the maxilla is the main bone involved in malocclusion directly contrasted with the majority of orthodontists who would say that the mandible is the main bone involved in malocclusion. That's what they correct with braces, and he definitely went against the grain with this idea, but that's what he seemed to observe in these skulls that he was looking at. And he seemed to notice that in around the 1800s period, malocclusion started to appear, and there wasn't a clear reason for why it was so quick and so significant. So he attributed it to a change in the type of food people were eating, and a change in the amount of allergens. People were more localized in small rooms and cities, which seemed to result in more allergens stuffing up their nose. And he asserted that, yep, that's causing malocclusion. It's a underdevelopment of the maxilla, I guess, which results in an underdevelopment of the whole face. The face starts to droop in John Mew's idea. Without the effort involved in chewing harder foods and the need to breathe through one's nose, John Mew thought that he could possibly correct the jaw deficiency that he saw there by controlling children's chewing, eating, and breathing habits in order to achieve that beautiful face that he wanted so much. He wanted to give us back what he said was an objectively beautiful face that we had lost by industrialization. And years passed as John continued to proclaim this idea. It was his idea. He even wrote a book after being rejected from a scientific journal. He only really stopped treating patients that he had in around 2017 at the age of 89 after his license was revoked by the General Dental Council for reasons. Yeah, that doesn't look too good. And how exactly he treated those patients for all those years, I'll get into in a second. But that's kind of where John Mew's story ends in the history, but that's not where the story of Mew ends. Mew continues with John's son Mike Mew. Now, Mike Mew picked up the mantle for mewing in a way that I don't think anybody saw coming. You might even call it the Godfather 3 of mewing. Since around roughly 2018, Mike Mew has carried this Mew idea into a whole new world of onlooking eyes. It all kind of started with this thing called the 21 Convention, which is like, Manosphere, Red Pill, like man convention thing. The 21 Convention loved Mike Mew. They loved him. The article claims that Mike talked about how any one of those attendants at that convention could be more attractive with a little persistence and proper tongue posture. And that idea resonated with that particular group very well. And I don't know if I have to explain why, because yeah, obviously, people are interested in improving their looks, and a community that's very associated with incels might be, privy to that idea too. I don't know. And this reception that he got at this convention seemed to give him an idea. He created a YouTube channel, and this YouTube channel now is very successful, where he talks about orthotropics, mewing, and he receives millions of views for it. And if you remember the PowerPoint section of this video, then you'll know that of course something like this, a seeming escape from something that we thought we couldn't change at all about our appearance, something that people care about a ton, their jawline, of course that resonates with people. Of course people run like crazy with the idea, because yeah, they want to look better, they care about that. You could even say it's part of their identity. And throughout all of this, Mike continued to treat adult people with mewing, even after being expelled from the British Orthodontic Society, which I'm under the impression happened because he mistreated a patient. There's an article for that in the Regardless of all that, Mike continues to treat adult patients and tells them that braces will hurt their jawline and make them mouth breathe, that if they use the Muse technique, their faces can be made beautiful. But now it's time I get into how this actually works. How do you actually mew? What does it actually mean to mew according to the Muse? Since the 1970s, using nothing more than palatal expanders, dietary changes, and force of the tongue, and an appliance the family invented called the BioBlock, the Muse claim that they can counteract the effects of modernity while children are still growing. I highlight that last part for a reason. And this is the original mewing. This is how it's originally described. And there's some key aspects there that I think are worth highlighting. First of all, it's for children. It seems to be for children. Children's faces are developing in a much different way than adult faces develop. And that's really the only time, and the Muse even acknowledge it seemingly, that you could possibly have a significant change to the structure of the face and how the jaw develops. And beyond that, there's a whole other, like a bunch of extra stuff there. It's not just pressing your tongue to the top of your mouth. That's not how they describe it. So I don't know where this idea that you should just use your tongue came from. Oh wait, that came from Mike Mew himself, but I'll get to that in a second. And yeah, Jean probably understood that most facial development takes place at an early age. There's a study for that. And beyond that, some development can happen, but it's not nearly as significant or meaningful for the face or jaw as that initial childhood development. So if you want to actually change your face shape, your jawline, if you look into it, most of the actual proven methods are going to be like surgery or invasive operations, unfortunately. So in summary, John seems to think that malocclusion causes ugly faces, and that comes from environment, not genetics. And this gives a lot of people hope because, hey, if I can fix my face and I don't have to worry about it being hopeless because of genetics, then why not? Why not fix my face? And that's great, but I'll reiterate, it seems to be something that's primarily aimed at young children, and beyond that, there's no real evidence, any scientific papers, that mewing or any form of mewing actually will fix your jawline or the jawline of children. It just hasn't been proven yet. And I find it striking that since finding newfound fame online, Mike Mew hasn't said, hey, you might be misunderstanding. He's doubled down and basically continued to say the same things, saying that adults and whoever else can fix their face and make their face beautiful with mewing. Or at the very least, he never specifies that it can't be adults. So the Muse are ridiculous, right? They just say a lot of lies, they're charlatans, they're fake, it's all, dumb. Right? Well, maybe not so much. Turns out there's a few more clues that might illuminate what's really going on here. First of all, it seems to be the case that the Muse claims that braces often result in relapse it's pretty true. It's actually very true and well accounted for in the literature. But the evidence goes even deeper than just that. The Mew's most significant claim of all, the most important claim they make, I'm gonna need a bigger pipe for this one. Essentially the claim that the environment causes your malocclusion, there's actually a pretty good amount of research to support that study here. This study is actually really great, and it has Robert Sapolsky. I like him, he's cool. The claim of this article is that malocclusion has begun to run rampant, they would even call it an epidemic, kind of like John, and the main reason is environmental factors, like these ones going across the screen right now. And these environmental factors are mainly a result of the agricultural and industrial revolutions. Sound familiar? Yeah, that's exactly what the Mew said. That's exactly what John Mew said. The study even cites John Mew at points. Now, it doesn't give him full credit or anything, but it still cites him and calls him the progenitor for the idea. However, despite these significant overlaps, this study still remains a little bit agnostic on a definitive way to solve this malocclusion problem that they see in the world. They cite a bunch of different sources. Here they all are. They're all in the doc. Seem to indicate there isn't really a definitive way, and they give a couple, one of them being John Mew, that seem to indicate there is, but that's not definitive evidence, and they admit as much. And this aspect of the study does not align with the Mews at all, specifically Mike Mew and what he likes to say online. And honestly, doesn't provide very robust evidence for any of it, because there is not robust evidence for any of that. There's no evidence that mewing actually works. Yeah, there's evidence to say that jaw shrinkage can result in sleep apnea. The jaw epidemic paper from earlier totally agrees. However, Mike also says that mewing will help fix your sleep apnea, basically. It will help treat sleep apnea. So like, that's like a prescription. What are you doing? You don't have evidence for that. You can't say that. People are gonna do that and think that that will help them with their sleep apnea. Go to a doctor. Don't go to Mike Mew. Beyond that, he says that Looksmaxxing-esque stuff, like it'll make your face beautiful, which is just like probably not true. We don't know that. So I don't know. Maybe he's lying, maybe he's not, but it just seems to be the case that he doesn't have enough evidence. I can say that part confidently. Okay? He does offer a few resources in the description for the video, but none of them bolster the primary claim of the video, that mewing will improve your jawline or help you fight sleep apnea. He has a few from John Mew, which are obviously going to swing this way, and I even read those, not the book because I can't afford it, but the free ebook, and it's just not even that is evidence that mewing will work. There's never been a study done on mewing actually improving anything, right? The logic seems to apply. There seems to be some evidence that it could work, but you need to test that mewing, as we know it, can actually do anything about any of these problems. Sleep apnea, even just improving the jawline, or just opening up the airway, I don't know. Like, none of this is proven by anything. And I will reiterate once more, mewing and the ideas behind mewing that are cited in the jaw epidemic paper, they are aimed entirely at children, young children. The paper even says that it would aim more at like 2-year-olds. There's a quote for that. Like, this stuff is meant for children. Why are you giving it out to young adults and adults? Like, you should specify if it doesn't work in adults, or if it even hasn't been proven on adults. You should specify, I'm losing my breath here, I'm smoking a lot of this pipe. Like, come on, man. You have to give me some evidence. Oh, the YouTube videos I'm watching, so many of them don't cite sources. It's not just Jeff, he cites his sources. Like, there's so many YouTube videos, including Mr. Mew here, which will just throw a few sources out and say, yeah, that's real, that's good, that's what I'm trying to say. No, it's not. You don't have any evidence the mewing will do the things you're saying it's doing. You're just saying it. You're just saying, trust me, bro. Just trust me. No. I don't trust you. I could be wrong. They could be wrong. Anybody here could be wrong. The jaw epidemic paper could be totally off mark. You know what I mean? Like, that's possible, right? But I have a serious problem with people who will make these strong claims, giving young people hope that they can fix something about themselves that they might not be able to fix when they have no evidence whatsoever. You have to like make a specific way to mew and then test that on a bunch of people under control, and then go through a review board to make sure it's ethical, and then do all the other stuff, and then do it and publish it, and if it's real, then it's real. Do that. Don't go on YouTube. Don't make claims you can't back up. Come on, man. Come on. Yeah, of course guys like this thrive online. People eat this stuff up because they exist. Mike Mew and these types of people, they exist in the fringes of science. They can cite sources and say, hey, yeah, look, it's kind of related. And people will eat it up because they just want to look better. They want to look better so bad. I mean, I was a part of it. I wanted to mew. I tried mewing. It doesn't really work. But once again, I will give them credit. Yeah, malocclusion is probably caused by environment. Yeah, people relapse from their braces. That's true. Some of these claims they're making are true, and they're real problems that need to be researched more. That's what the article says. And I think it's worth mentioning that in that original article by William Brennan from the New York Times or whatever, there's a very interesting quote from John Mew that I think illuminates what's possibly going on here. William asked John about some totes of before and after images of his patients that were in his house. And John responded by saying this: what would be the point? If someone doesn't look good, I'll just say they didn't comply. And if they do look good, I'll just say that they did. That's crazy. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if William Brennan fabricated that quote. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I don't think he did. But it's such an insane quote, and it's so illuminating of what might actually be going on here that I had to put it in. Don't trust these guys if that's the case. Don't try to mew. There's no evidence. This one probably doesn't work. Yeah. Mystery solved, I guess. Another tally for me. Squirrel? Can you put another... Hey, squirrel? Squirrel? Squirrel, it's a tally for me. Put it on the wall. Are you okay? Squirrel? Hey. You okay? What's going on, man? Squirrel, you alright? Can you hear me? Hey, can you hear me? We lost another one today. Who unalived you, little buddy? Who did that to you? Is it even a question worth asking? A crime worth solving? Maybe the real crime was within me all along. Good night, squirrel. I miss you. Yeah, I got a new chair, so here it is. Also, the audio might be a little bit compressed in this section, so just try to hold in your anger about that. I'm gonna try to keep this short. I know that I'm really great at that, so we're just gonna do that once more. Maybe saying it will allow me to actually do it this time. Basically, this is a debrief. I did this Looksmaxxing section and all these different Looksmaxxing methods because I wanted to make a point, and I want to just try to clarify what that point is for everyone, me included. Each of these Looksmaxxing methods breaks down to one of 3 different categories. Number 1, it's real, it works, it's actually pretty helpful, and you should probably do it. It's healthy. Going to the gym, skincare, these things are actually good, I think. The second category is this kind of dubious, maybe, but probably fine. I'm talking about teeth whitening, maybe even a posture correction. Yeah, they probably work, and they might even make you look a little bit better, but probably not. I don't know, it's not clear. Whatever. And then finally the third category, how you say category, the oof category, the poop category. I don't like this category. The fake ones, the bone breaking, the tooth shaving, the mewing. For goodness sake, I would put mewing in this category. It's just not real. There's no evidence for it, and I would recommend not trusting it. These things, what I've gained from this little adventure, this little intrepid little walk I've gone on down the Looksmaxxing lane, whatever, it's really revealed very little to me, other than the fact that none of this stuff is clear, and that people care a lot about their looks, me included. That's why we believe this stuff. I mean, if you imagine Looksmaxxing as a speedometer in a car, people, me included, of course, will do some pretty crazy stuff, some pretty weird stuff, just to move that speedometer up just a little bit. Because, like, skincare, posture, these corrections, even if they succeeded completely, really, they're not going to make you from a butt ugly person into a Brad Pitt. Like, it's not going to happen. It won't even be slightly like that. It's just not how it works. You can't correct your appearance like that. It just doesn't work that way. You might be able to improve it slightly and maximize, I guess technically you're maximizing, but like, it just doesn't work. It doesn't really work. None of these things will fix your appearance. They won't fix how you see yourself. They won't fix you. That's the interesting part. It's how we see ourselves. It is how we understand our identity a lot of the time. But I'll get to that in a second. And honestly, it reminds me a little bit of John Mew. He believed that attractiveness was an objective measure. And that's why he really, really wanted to fix the face. Is because he thought that beauty was something that we could strive for and reach objectively, empirically. Like, it's a literal thing that exists. Beauty is a real thing. It's an objective measure. That's what he believed. I'm gonna sit forward for this one. Is that really true? Is that actually real? Is that how it actually works? Does beauty boil down to certain facial cues and certain features that we have? Is that all it is? Is John Mew right about this? And now that we know, according to my Looksmaxxing adventure that we went on, that you can't really control your looks, maybe just a tiny bit, but it's just the tiniest little shift on the speedometer. Now that we know that about about our level of control over our own looks, I really have to ask that original question again. Does personality matter more than looks? Is that true? Because if that's the case, then like, we don't have control over it, and it really matters. Like, it's a real measure. Like, some people are just more beautiful than others. If that's the case, like, is it possible for us? Can we feel good enough? Can we reach that invisible standard we've set? Can we feel sufficient? Can we be a part of that in-group? Is that possible? Well, I don't know, actually. But I know somebody who thinks they know, and I really want to talk about them right now, because they are the reason that I'm making this video right now. Partially. So, stick with me for just a little bit longer, because I really want to talk about this. Okay. I'll just do it. I'm not gonna... No more takes, just one take. You can call me One Take Tommy, because that's it. That's right, it's this guy right here, Gerbert Johnson. I'm talking about him. He is the one. Some of you might know him. He is a YouTuber who also talks about stuff like this sometimes. And he made a video called Looks Matter More Than Personality. So you could say that my video is almost a response to that video. But it's not. It's something new. Some of you may have noted that I take a lot of influence from him. And I'm just going to play right into that in this section. I'm just going to play right into that. Very clearly, just overtly gonna do that now. And on a side note, having talked to some of my male friends, I swear that I have friends who are girls too, you're just gonna have to trust me on that one. They seem to think about this topic that personality matters more, but deep down there's this feeling that if I were ugly, or if I am ugly, it sort of ruins my chances at like being fully happy. There's an amount of happiness that I'm missing out on because I'm not quite as attractive as this guy or this person. And I feel that this idea carries over to young men across this culture, at least this culture. This idea that there's a certain amount of happiness that's not available to me because I'm not quite that attractive. that, yeah, of course personality matters more, I'm supposed to say that, but deep down I know I would give almost anything to be more attractive, because that would make me more complete. I think that's sort of the idea. It's like we need those looks to be a complete or a full version of ourselves. I mean, this is certainly why that the Looksmaxxing movement even exists. We need these looks to be a full, complete, or better version of ourselves. And all that tells me is that we relate those looks with ourself, with our person, with our identity, maybe a way more than we should. Gerbert seems to back this claim in his video, this claim that looks are a defining part of our existence, of who we are. Or does he? Classic case of a YouTuber being unclear. I couldn't think of another example of that. Despite the title of the video, Gerbert doesn't really seem to disagree all that much with me. Even though it would sound like he's on the other end of the argument, he kind of isn't. He seems to change his opinion a couple times throughout the video, lessening the extent of the title, and then finally, if you check the description of the video, it says that it's satirical. Huh? Satirical? I would have been helped out a little bit if you had made that clear. It's not like you literally conveyed every point in your video fairly clearly and gave sources and treated the whole thing as if it wasn't satire. But yeah, okay, it's satire. Its title's not even really accurate. He says in the video that it's more of a 50-50. Looks are 50% and then personality is 50%. But looks are apparently the first 50%. So I guess that justifies labeling the video as looks matter more, I guess? I don't know. It's not really... I don't know what he's doing here. But once again, that doesn't even really matter that much because this video is satirical. Like, that definitely is made clear from this video. It's totally something you could pull from the content of the video. It's not like I was unaware that it was satire for several months until I came back to the video and found out that it was satire when I checked the description. That's definitely not what happened. No, it's not misleading at all to cite your sources clearly and present it as if it was not satire. That's great satire. I don't even know why do you even say that it's satire if you're just gonna make non-satire? I don't know. I guess it's like a little hyperbolic. I don't know. But like people really like believe this stuff. Like I was talking to somebody recently in my normal, casual, non-YouTube life, and they brought up basically this video. They said that 50-50 line from this video, and I said, "Wow, you said 50-50 and looks are the first 50%? Where'd you get that from?" And they said Gerbert Johnson. They said they had watched this video. So like, I'm not gonna just sit here and let you get away with the satire line. I'm not mad. I'm just like, it's not satire. You're not doing satire. That would be like if I said my video was satire. It's not. I'm citing sources. I'm making points. I seem to believe these points. There's no... Where's the critique? Where's the... I don't get it. Am I too dense to understand the satire? Maybe spit. Look, he did put it in the description, so I'll give him that. Technically, he did do that. And also, it's like his first video ever, I think. So, once again, I'm not trying to hate or anything. I'm just saying, like, yeah, you're not doing satire. But I will judge the video for its content now. He believes the #1 factor when it comes to success in dating is the way that you look. And he relates this to the halo effect, which he talks about in his video. For example, the halo effect was exhibited in a study where they had college students rank or grade essays, and then they would also include like a picture of the student who wrote it, and the more attractive the student was, the better the grade was. So people tend to give more credit, in this case literally more credit, to people who are more attractive. That's the halo effect. It's like beautiful is good, basically. That's the classic quote that goes with it. He makes the point that looks will influence not only how you're perceived, but how your personality is interpreted by other people. He even goes as far as saying that your looks will influence how useful your personality is in any given relationship, and that it won't go the other way around. He even says, and this is a quote from him, your whole perception of somebody else's personality is based off how they look. He's claiming that it's impossible that personality could possibly influence how attractive we think somebody else is, and I would have to disagree. For instance, this study right here. This study pretty clearly outlines that personality characteristics, like honesty, will positively influence how attractive other people think a person is when those characteristics are attributed to that person. And this seems like some pretty strong evidence that personality does matter, at least a little bit. It seems that people do value personality, maybe a little bit more than Gerby said in his video here. But I will give him the benefit of the doubt. This particular study did not exist when his video was released, so maybe he just didn't see it. So what if there were a more recent video, which was made after that study was published, that made my point even more clearly? What if that existed? Well, it's my lucky day, because we have just that right here. Why your face matters and everything, the next video I will be discussing. And it came out about a month after the study I was talking about got published, so Gerbert technically could have seen it. I am going to hold Gerbert not being perfect against him. I expect that from him. But it doesn't even matter, because the source that he uses in this video seems to support me. And him, but also me. In fact, these findings provide some of the strongest evidence to date that personality traits are related to differences in how individuals judge the attractiveness of others. It's not all looks. This quote is a little hard to read, it's not super clear, but based off the context of the paragraph, it seems to be talking about both ends of this coin, both sides of this coin. It seems to be talking about the person who is judging or rating the other people, their personality matters, and the person being rating, their personality matters as well. I think that's why the sentence is so vague. But regardless, if you read the study itself, we can indulge ourselves a little further in what I'm trying to point out here. This personality aspect matters especially in the dating market, which is what Gerb is talking about, I have to presume. He was talking about it in the first video, and then this video is literally titled Your Face Matters in Everything. I have to assume that dating is included in everything. So I think that personality does matter. Here's a quote for the dating. It seems that dispositional characteristics, which is what this study refers to personality characteristics as, do matter. And I understand that the first video was satire and that he didn't fully believe it, but like, he put that out there. He made that point, so I'm allowed to critique it. You could also say those two videos are 2 years apart, so his opinion has probably changed. And I would agree, it probably has. He seems like a pretty fluid guy. Not like that. But that doesn't mean I can't criticize those videos. They're still up. He hasn't sent a disclaimer out. Like, I'm still allowed to criticize those videos. But moving back to what I was talking about a minute ago, this study that Gerbert is using here does pretty clearly say that there is an objective standard for beauty, a measurable, consistent standard. It's kind of the whole point of the study if you actually read it, and I will not deny that. That is a fair point. John Mew was probably right about something else. It seems that beauty is not in the eye of the beholder. It's kind of objective, at least partially objective. I think there's obviously some level of subjectivity with beauty, and Gringle would agree with me. But yeah, it seems like it's at least partially, or we have good reason to believe that it's objective beauty. There's an objective aspect to beauty. People tend to agree on who is and who isn't attractive, and it even happens to go across cultures sometimes as well. That's in this study right here. However, if at least part of our idea of what is attractive or beautiful comes down to personality traits, then I have to ask, like, isn't that up to us to interpret? Like, don't I interpret how honest or how conventional or how confident somebody is? I realize that certain traits like confidence have feet in both ponds, and looks and the personality pond. You can appear confident, but also that's reflective of a personality trait. So at the end of the day, it's up to me to decide, like, do I think that person is confident? I have to interpret that. So in a way, beauty is still sort of in the eye of the beholder, but it's just not clear. Yeah, it's not clear. That's the motto of this video. It's not clear. Regardless, there's definitely good reason to believe that personality matters, at least to a certain extent, when it comes to our judgment of beauty. And this video is about that idea that looks matter more than personality. And to debunk that idea, I think we need more than just a few studies. So I'll ask you, what do you care more about? Because do you really want to be in a relationship with somebody who is not interesting, who isn't honest, who doesn't fit your personality criteria? I don't think so. These things matter, and I would say they matter more than looks do in the long run. and I don't think anybody really disagrees with that. So as Gerber says, you might want to pork, but you don't want to date. Looks might matter more in one night porking, but they don't matter more in actual relationship building. And look, I understand how it feels to think that you're ugly and worthless, and to have this deep desire to be seen or perceived as hot. But like, you're gonna get really old and slimy like soon, so why would you put all your value, your entire identity into your body? Or worse, your body count. Weird. But that's just a tangent. I'm not quite done yet. Here's a little bit more evidence that looks may not matter more than personality. I would say that maybe we have some evidence now to say that looks actually matter less than personality. This study here talks about the cues for attractiveness and includes personality traits as a primary one of those. This study here says essentially the same thing. Certain personality attributes make people more attractive, and then bad ones make people less attractive. Personality definitely matters. We have a pretty good amount of evidence so far. This question of which one matters more, it just leaves so much to be desired. I guess that's sort of the elephant in the room for this whole video. Looks matter more. Personality matters more. Neither of these statements are like very useful because they don't really offer any context. They don't offer any backdrop. They just say this matters more. More than what? In what way? In what context? What do you mean it matters more? Like, what do you actually mean? And I guarantee you that in the dating market, which is the primary market when it comes to people wanting to be attractive, they want to start to date somebody else. That's like the human goal, is to like make babies. So you want to be attractive. I guarantee that personality does matter more. I'm very confident in that. Yes, looks matter. Obviously looks matter. They give us a example of what kind of physical situation is going on, the genetic situation. However, personality, when it comes to maintaining a relationship, personality just matters more. And personality makes you more attractive. Why? Because that means you're somebody who can actually be in a relationship with. Maybe that's conjecture, but I feel like I've offered some evidence for that. It's worth thinking about, at the very least. I guarantee anybody with experience with a mean, overbearing, maybe manipulative, or maybe it's just straight up boring person, anybody with experience in a relationship with one of those people totally agrees. Like, personality matters more when it comes to dating. And honestly, taking another step back, I want you to just imagine that one guy you knew, he was kind of short, he was a little plump, he had no sense of style, but he just pulled. Man, if he was a rope, he would just be worn out. Like, he pulled, man. Just think about him for a minute. A moment of silence for that guy. Yeah, he just breaks the whole thing, doesn't he? Because it's all personality. And we all have an experience with a guy like that, or a girl, I don't know. We all do. It does happen. People are like that. Because personality is super powerful. We are experiential creatures. We love the experience of seeing a beautiful person. And we love the experience of getting to know an awesome person. I would say a little bit more, if not a lot more. And so yeah, that underlying truth is, I think, the reason that these studies I've talked about even exist. Besides all of that, my primary point in bringing up all these studies is just to say that I think that original idea I talked about, that looks could matter more than personality, I think it's just wrong. I think it's just a wrong way of looking at it. Especially including those goals, the various goals someone could have in making that statement, whether it be dating or hookups or whatever. Regardless, I just don't think it's a correct way of viewing attractiveness. It's more complex than that, for sure. But that's not really what I'm talking about with this video. So if that's the answer for you, I'm glad that we were able to get there. But I think there's something way more important below the surface, literally, that I want to talk about right now that will actually answer that question and won't leave it up to it's uncertain. So stick with me. Beyond any of that, I think that it is our personal evaluation of our looks that we actually hold as higher than our personality. It's not just some bland blanket statement, looks. It's our personal evaluation of our own looks. It's like this horrible distorted lens that we view ourselves through that loves to emphasize the worst aspects of ourselves, and it loves more than anything to focus on how we appear, on our looks, on our level of attractiveness, and to say that we are valueless because we aren't attractive enough. And I think that that says something really powerful, at least to me, about how we think about ourselves, about how I think about myself. And I really, really want something better, a better beauty, a better idea of what beauty is, a better source for beauty, a better identity for myself, a better value for what I am, for me as a person, as a thing that acts and wants to do stuff in the world. There's got to be a better option than saying that I am valuable because I meet certain appearance criteria. And if you forget all of that, just remember that our value and our identity are very deeply linked. What you think you are and what you think you should be is inherently linked with how we feel value-wise. Do I feel valuable? Do I feel okay with myself? It really depends on what that identity is and whether or not I meet that. You may be evaluating yourself very lowly and feel like trash. You might identify with your looks. When you look in the mirror, you might feel like you're looking at a stranger. That's not me. I'm supposed to be attractive. I'm supposed to be this. I'm supposed to be that. I'm supposed to meet these standards. I'm supposed to be this sort of person. I'm supposed to look like that. Maybe that's why you clicked on this video, because it's been on your mind. I know it's been on my mind. It's been on my mind for quite a while. I'm making this video because of this. And when I go on YouTube, I find people like Gerbert, no offense, saying stuff like looks do matter more than personality. Now there are exceptions, of course, but I just couldn't find a clear enough answer to this question. What is my actual value? If it's not my looks, if it's not even my abilities, what's my actual value? And the reality is, I think I have an answer, but I can't prove that. But I can't prove any of this stuff. I can't prove that Gerbert is wrong about looks. I can't prove that Jeff is wrong about posture. I can't even prove that you can fix your posture. I can't prove that John Mew was wrong or right about mewing. I can't prove any of that stuff. I can't prove any of my assertions about Looksmaxxing. I can't prove a single thing I've said in this video. And I definitely cannot prove that personality matters more than looks. But I can try to say an alternative to that. An alternative to feeling worthless, feeling like trash. An alternative to this false identity that we put in our looks. An alternative to constantly going through this cycle of valuelessness and then reaching and thinking you got it and then failing and looking in the mirror and thinking, I suck. I can offer an alternative to these things. I can offer an alternative to not being good enough, I think. I'm going to try to. Freedom from the cycle of ugly and not ugly, attractive, unattractive, big nose, small nose, skinny, strong, tall, short. I want freedom from that cycle. But the cycle goes even further. It's even more than that. Am I smart enough? Am I funny enough? Do I fit in well enough? Do I have potential as a person? I just want freedom from that cycle. The question is, am I good enough? Am I sufficient? Am I good enough? There you go. Alright, I made it. It was a bit of a trip, but I did make it. It might have looked beautiful and nice and straightforward, but yeah, it wasn't perfect. Come on, man. Come on. We made it after all. I'm trying to wrap this up in a way that makes sense and expresses how I feel about the subject, because really this looks matter more than personality question, I think it's like emblematic, or it represents something way bigger, way more important, at least to me. What was that? That's weird. It's probably all this heat. This camera's malfunctioning or something, I don't know. I saw some squirrels friggin' fornicating over there. I swear this part is really important to looks matter more than personality. I'm going to try to make that connection here soon. Just stick with me. I'm going to try to explain this way. Okay. To talk to a camera outside takes confidence. It takes some amount of confidence to do this, because somebody could walk by, or you could feel like there's some sort of a pressure to perform better or something. I don't know. It takes confidence to talk to a camera outside. It's different. It sort of begs the question about what actually is confidence. What is that? My answer to that question is, I think confidence is belief. I think it's all based in a belief that somebody has. That's what gives them their confidence. Even Gerbert said it in his video. At this point in the video, he said, you need to have a reason to be confident. You can't just be confident. You can't just choose confidence. You have to have a reason. You have to have something to believe in. For instance, an attractive person can be confident that they're attractive because they believe that they're attractive. Or a talented artist can be confident that they're a talented artist because they believe that they're talented. But I think that confidence is something a little bit more than that. I think it is also identity. So it's these two things. It's belief and identity. You have to have some sort of an identity to believe in order to have that confidence. And identity, I think, is simply put, it's more complex maybe, but as far as I understand it, identity is just what we believe we are. So really, they work hand in hand. The attractive person's identity might be that they're an attractive person. That might be part of their identity. And therefore, they can or cannot believe in that, and therefore they can or cannot have confidence. Same thing with the talented artist. A great example of this is in Gerbert's video when he says that when he got taller in high school, he was more able to feel confident. He was more easily able to feel confident. And that just tells me that he had this identity in his head that he should be taller, and therefore he can feel more confident. Identity is like what we think we are, what we should be or should have been. That's what we think. That's what identity is, I think. A very important aspect of identity is that it's where we derive our value from, because when we reach our identity, then we're able to feel value. When you do a good job at whatever it is you try to do, when you look like the way you think you should look, when you feel the way you think you should feel, that's a part of your identity that you're fulfilling, and therefore you can feel like you're valuable. You've done what you're trying to do. So basically, confidence comes from belief, and when somebody feels that they have fulfilled that identity, then they can have confidence. It comes from that belief in the fulfillment of that identity, if that makes sense. And I think there's something deeply rooted in these self-imposed identities that we put onto ourselves that is just rotten. I think there's something there that's just not quite right. These goals or supposed accomplishments or expectations we set on ourselves that just don't seem to line up with what I think is good, or what I think is... There's something wrong with that. They're lacking in something. And it's hard to explain, but essentially, one way to look at it is by how we diagnose these self-imposed identities, how we actually find out what self-imposed identities do I actually have. The easiest way to do that is by waiting and then paying attention to whenever you feel completely worthless or like a failure or like there's just not any room left for you to succeed. You wait for those moments, and then you check and you say, what did I not live up to? What was I not? What did I not do? What did I fail at? And when you answer that question, you'll know exactly what your self-imposed identities are. Whether it be maybe you didn't get a laugh at that joke, or maybe when you look in the mirror, you feel that way, or maybe when you look at your ring finger and you don't see a ring and you feel like all your friends are getting married. Maybe it's that. Maybe it could be anything. But in those moments, you can know exactly what those self-imposed identities are, because you'll feel like a complete failure. And when you start to pay attention to these self-imposed identities, you're going to start to notice that there's a cycle that goes along with it. Over and over and over, you're going to fail to reach those identities, and every time you just feel terrible about yourself. But then for some reason, we just keep trying to do it again and again and again. It's really easy to spot these self-imposed identities once you know the cues that you're supposed to look for. It never seems to stay within reach. The most talented painters probably think their stuff sucks. Even the most attractive people, they'll say they're ugly. They probably have it worse than anybody, because everybody seems to bolster them up and say, you're attractive, but they just can't seem to believe it about themselves. And this links back to that confidence thing, because when you can't believe that you have met your supposed identity, then who are you? You failed to be yourself. You failed to be what you think you should be over and over and over again, and you just feel like garbage, and you get beaten down by that cycle. And when you can't fulfill your identity as a person, when you can't be yourself, that confidence is just flushed right down the toilet. It's nothing. But I don't think you need to be attractive or talented or anything or whatever it is in order to feel confident. I don't think you need those things. Not that anybody in the audience isn't perfectly attractive or talented. I know you all are. But you might not believe that about yourself. That's the key, I guess. You might not believe it. After all, everybody has their own conception of reality. Everybody has their own experience. I mean, that's what your life is. It's your own experience. So if I don't have these things, these outward things, these inward things, smartness, attractiveness, if I don't know that I have these and I continuously seem to fail to reach my own standards, then what can I possibly be confident in? Well, it would have to be something that can't be taken from me. It would have to be something that, when I believe in it, it only helps me pursue those things that I'm interested in even more so. It would have to be something completely unflushable. But what could that be? What could I possibly have confidence in about myself, about me, that isn't an achievement or a goal or an attribute that I think is true about myself? What could I possibly have confidence in? Well, I would have to ask myself, what do I know? What do I actually know? Because that's what you believe in, is what you know. So what do I believe? What do I actually believe or know about myself? What can I believe? Well, I think it's best to start with that little test to see what your self-imposed identities are. It's a good way to start. So for me, I think it's looks. Of course it is. I'm making this video right now. It's not like I'm totally uninvolved with the content of this video. There's a reason I chose this topic. I feel it. I totally feel it. I don't think I look good. I think I look terrible. I don't like anything about my appearance, really. I find it hard to appreciate that about myself. But I have that self-imposed identity. I feel worthless every time I look in the mirror and I say, look at that crooked face. Look at that huge nose. Look at that whatever it might be. Skinny boy. It could be anything. And that is something I can't reach. I continuously fail to reach it. Some days I feel a little bit better, but then by the time I feel great, it's over, and I've lost my grip on my own identity. So what can I actually know about my appearance, about the future of my appearance, about the past of my appearance? What can I actually know about it? Well, you can know that you will be, or I will be, as attractive as I will be. I was as attractive as I was. I am as attractive as I am. That is true. I know that's true. I believe that. I can fully believe that statement. And it sounds like an empty statement. It sounds like, oh yeah, obviously, what? That says nothing, right? But I think it does say something. I think it says something very important. What does it actually say about my self-imposed identity to be attractive? I'll use a different example. I will be as successful as I will be. Even more specifically, I will get as many views on this YouTube video as I will get. I know that's true. It might be 0, it might be 1 million, it might be 11 views for me checking to see if people are actually watching it. But it's going to be one of those, and I know that's true. It feels vague, but I have to realize that those self-imposed identities, those expectations I set on myself, I need to have this or this, I need to be this good at this, I need to get this much of this. I'm assuming that I can reach things that I have no reason to assume I can reach. You have to realize those self-imposed identities, those specific goals I set on myself, those expectations. When I fail to reach those things, I feel horrible and I punish myself mentally because I'm telling myself, you didn't do it, you didn't succeed at being who you are. We don't have control over the future, we don't have knowledge of what the future will be. And so we need to let go of that idea that we need to reach these specific goals, we need to be these certain things, because that's not reflective of what I think we are. And these statements I'm making, they feel vague, they feel useless, they feel stupid, but if you think about it, those self-imposed identities are even more presumptuous than any of these vague statements I'm making. The idea that I should have to meet certain expectations in the future is way more presumptuous than just saying something I do know for sure. I have no idea if I'm going to meet those expectations. Who knows what's going to happen that might restrict me, or anything could happen, right? We don't know the future. And when we make these self-imposed identities, in a big way, we're trying to hold on and know the future. But we really can't know the future. We just can't. And I think we need to relinquish control of the future. with these self-imposed identities. I need to have a girlfriend at this point in my life. I need to have huge muscles. I need to be this good at painting. I need to get this many views. That's way less true than me saying, I will get as many views as I'll get. You know what I mean? Like, it sounds vague, but it's so much more solid ground than those other prior statements. And I've spent all this time distracting myself with these self-imposed identities about what I should be, these ever-moving milestones of what I am, when I should have just been spending time focusing on the actual desires I have as a person, and not these false expectations for myself, wherever they might come from. Expectations that I would have to meet in order to be happy, in order to be good enough. It just feels like there must be something better out there for me, for my identity, for what I can believe and be confident in, I think. And really, at the end of the day, I'll run as fast as I'll run. I'll do as well as I will do. I'll be as attractive as I will be. These are things I already know. I already know these things for sure. And by giving up that control of the future, that need to control the future, I'm actually gaining insight into the future. I can accept the future. And now I can just focus on doing whatever it is I want to do. What is it? I feel like the camera's failing or something. I don't know what's going on. And this concept of quote-unquote better confidence that I'm trying to explain is all based in acceptance. The giving up of this responsibility I feel that I have to control the future or to control the past. I'll call it something new. I'll call it progressive acceptance. That's what I think it is. It's not that I as a person am interesting or am attractive. It's that I am as interesting as I am or as attractive as I am. I know that to be true. It's an appeal to truth, an appeal to reality as I see it, working directly in tandem with a desire to progress, the progressive part of progressive acceptance. The truthful part, the acceptance of truth, how I see it, and the progressive part, the desire to do something. For example, I crashed my car. That's true, that happened, and I can accept that. I can accept that that did happen. Nobody in their right mind would tell you to live in, like, denial that that happened. But I think an important next part of that process is, I should say to myself, I will find as good of a replacement as I will find. It might be a piece of junk, or it might be an amazing car, or anything in between. I know that to be true. That's progressive acceptance. I'm accepting that I will get one of these options. And now, instead of hinging my identity in which car I get, I can say, hey, I'll get whatever car I get. Now I can focus, right, on just finding a good car. I'm weighing my mind down by saying, you've got to meet these expectations in order to be yourself, in order to be happy. That's not true. I'll get whatever I get. I'll do as well as I'll do. I'll get the best shot I can get here in this video. Trust me, it's not going amazing. There's bugs everywhere. But I am going to get whatever I get. I'm just going to focus right now. I'm just doing my best. Just figuring this out. And the key is when you give up that false identity, that self-imposed identity, it opens the door for a brand new identity. Something that is way more informed on what your value actually is as a human being than how well you play soccer or how fast you run or how good you jump or something stupid that people put their identity into, or how much you can record, or how well you can record, or how well you can play the guitar, or how much girlfriend you have. None of that is true. It's not really true, I think, of what your actual value is as a person, and I will get to that in a second. But before I get to that, I need to talk about what that identity isn't just a little bit more. Those goals that you might have, whatever it might be, soccer, freaking piano, just being happy on a daily basis. I don't think that any of those are inherently bad. To want to be attractive, I don't think that's inherently bad. It might come from a bad place or something, but that's not what this video is about. But when we start to link it with our identity, with this false identity of ourselves, we lose track of what that desire was originally, and it becomes a rat race to the finish. But with progressive acceptance, you can remove the identity from the desire. Now, those goals are just goals. They're more abstract. They're just things you want, not who you are, or what you should be, or what you should represent as a person. They're just goals. They're just things you want. And I want to be clear on this. What you do is not what you are. You're a painter. You're a runner. That's not true. You just like painting and you like running. And what you want is not who you are either. You're not smart or dumb. You want to learn more things. You want to know more. You want to do better on tests. You're not unattractive or attractive. You're not ugly. You just want to be seen as more attractive. You want people to appreciate your appearance more. But none of that is who you are, and when you let those self-imposed identities creep into your life and start to tell you who you are, you forget what you want. You forget what you actually are. Like, there's actually an answer to that question, I think. And I'm going to try to get there in a second. And as those self-imposed identities dig into every part of your life and creep in and root themselves in every aspect of your life, your actual identity becomes dependent on what you accomplish rather than what you enjoy or what you want or what you've experienced in your life. It leaves no room for basic experience, failure, the human experience, that kind of thing. And I don't know about you, but this exact thing has made me feel hopeless so many times in my life. Just absolutely, like I'm not seeing myself correctly, like I'm seeing myself through a different lens. Like, it's even why I filmed this video to begin with. It's why I bought into those Looksmaxxing ideas. Why I literally bought a lot of those Looksmaxxing ideas. That was not a bit for the video. I bought those way before I ever planned on making this video. Because I needed it. I needed to live up to that identity, to fulfill that expectation I set on myself, based on whatever it was. And without it, I felt horrible. So of course I'd spend money. Of course I'd believe it without a second thought. Because I needed it. And it looked like an answer to my problem. That's what it is. That's what Looksmaxxing is. It's a disease that is rooted in an improper identity of the self. So they might work, but they're all for the wrong reasons. So they're all fake. All tallies off the board. See the squirrel up there? That guy it was wrong. He's fine, by the way. He's just hanging out, but he was wrong. All those tallies are fake, I think. So what do we do moving forward? I will be as attractive as I will be. I will be as successful as I will be. What do we do now? Well, you have to keep doing what you want to do, what you think is interesting in the world. You have to keep progressing. You have to keep doing stuff that you enjoy. But now you don't have that false identity weighing you down and distracting you from what you actually want. Yeah, you failed to do that thing, whatever it might be, to pass that test or say that thing to that important person, or to just feel like yourself. You failed to do that. You did it again. I know you did. But that is not who you are. That's not you. That's what you did. It's what happened, but that's not you. It's not your identity. And you can be confident in that idea. Self-imposed identities represent this lie that we are supposed to be these certain things at certain points, and that if we don't reach those, we're worthless. And even more than that, it's a lie that we could have had real control over any of that, because of course we couldn't. It's in the future. All I can control is right now. This instant, that's all I can control. It influences the future, but how am I supposed to know the future? People know that you shouldn't worry about what you can't control. That's a cliche thing at this point. But the problem is people have no idea what they actually can control. The future is not in our control. It's just not. Anything could happen. And that's the reason why we continuously fail to reach these things. We don't know ourselves that well. We really don't. And we're trying, and we're setting these expectations on ourselves that we have to be these certain things. And then we fail, and we think, I failed at what I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be some sort of a future knower who can just do that stuff and progress like that. But it's just not true. It's not accurate to what we are or our value as people. It's fully off the mark. Saying that we're valuable because of what we're capable of. I sure hope not. Different people are capable of different things, but we still say we're supposed to value everybody equally. How is that true? I think I want to work a way out to value people, and identity, that's how we value ourselves, an identity that would cover everybody, an identity that I can say to anybody and say, hey, this is what you can do, no matter what your circumstances are, no matter what happens, this is your identity, and it's true, and you can feel valuable, and you can feel confident that that is true. And I think, and I hope that we really can feel valuable and feel confident without needing to reach these expectations. I really think that's something that we can do as people. I think anybody can feel valuable knowing that they have done their best according to their experience, according to what they think is right about the world, right? I think anybody can feel valuable in that effort, right? I think that you don't need to reach specific goals in order to feel that value. It's more about that effort, right? As I talked about, that moment, that effort. That's how we should feel value, I think. No distractions in our heads telling us we need to be this or that or reach particular goalposts. It's about that effort because that's what we have control over, right? I know it's cliche, but that's what we have control over. It's true. It's just true. I know that I will be as successful as I will be. I know that. And I can control the effort I put into that desire, right? That's what I can control. Just trying to get away from these distractions telling me anything else other than that specific fact. And sometimes it feels like I need to hide away and just cover up my desires and just keep them to myself, because if I fail, then I won't be myself. Those desires won't be true anymore. They won't be real about me, and I won't be what I should be in my head, and I feel horrible. I feel worthless. This happens to me a lot. Maybe it's a personal problem, but I've experienced it with other people as well. It's something that I feel is prevalent across the culture, like especially in this looks-based world we live in. Like, is that what we want to see people as like a pretty face? As whether or not they've met a particular criteria? That's what makes them valuable. That's what makes them individual and unique and special. Like, I don't think so. I don't want that. I don't think anybody else wants that. More importantly, why would we ever value ourselves that way? Why would we do that? It's not accurate. It's not true. It's not healthy. We don't need to value people based off these outward things, it's just not accurate. Why do we keep evaluating ourselves based off these things when they fail us and when we fail? And it's an endless road. I mean, why would we value people that way? Why would you ever value yourself based off these things that they aren't you? That's not you. Are you just how attractive you are? Are you just how good you are at any particular thing? On the converse, are you your failures? Are you how bad you are at that thing you feel that you're bad at? Am I just ugly? Is that what I am? I don't think so. I don't think we should think of people like that. I don't think we should value people like that. And I don't think confidence should come from that. I don't think that's good. That's weird. I think the camera's breaking for real this time. Jeez. So I'm going to try to answer that question now. What is the real identity of a person? And without those other identities, those outward things, it can be hard to ask ourselves, what are we? What am I? What actually is my identity? What could that possibly be that would be consistent and somehow change but never change? And like, what could that possibly be? It can't be my failures, it can't be my successes, it can't be my shortcomings, it can't be any of that stuff. What am I beyond that stuff? What could I be? Well, here's my answer. And this is my opinion, but I think this is the right answer. My true identity is a desire to do some stuff, to go out and experience some things, to experience the best pleasures that I can, the talking with my best friend, or working really hard on a project, and it hurts while you're doing it because it's hard, but once you're done, you're proud of it. Or maybe it's just taking responsibility, the greatest pleasures a person can have, and the list probably goes on too. But that's what I am. I'm an effort towards what I think is true about the world, the true best pleasures, the true what is right and wrong. I'm an effort towards that. That's my identity. And I can be confident in that effort, right? I can believe that effort because I'm capable of that effort at any given moment. Because I am a moment. We are all just the present tense version of us. We're a little bit different in the past, and we're going to be a little bit different in the future. But that's what I am. I am that moment. And that effort is all I can grab onto to experience. That's what we're capable of as people. We're capable of experiencing. We should go out and experience to the best of our ability so that we can take in whatever is true. We all have that unique conception of truth. Remember that. We could take that in and pursue reality. Your real identity is the effort you put into what you believe is true and good. It's the decision right now to pursue what is true and to do it to the best of your ability. That's you. That's me. And you can fail at that. You can. But every single second that passes is a new opportunity to try it again. And I think you should. I think you should try it again. And nobody can take that from you. Nobody can take that experience from you. That's who you are, is that experience. So, of course you should put in the effort to experience. Of course you should. There's bugs. I'm sorry. Your real identity is the effort that you can make towards what you think is good and true. It's your decision that you make to pursue what is right in the world, what you think you should do, what you think is pleasurable, and what you think is the best pleasure. It's that decision, that moment. So focus on just doing that, on just pursuing that reality, knowing for sure that the rest is not your responsibility. It's not your control. You are an effort towards truth, towards what is good in your mind, and towards what is right in your experience. You are an effort towards truth. That's what you are. That's why we have these sensory organs, in order to experience, in order to have some idea what truth is. You are an effort towards truth. You will do as well as you will do. I lost the art show. What are you going to do about it now? You will paint as well as you will paint. I genuinely hate how I look. You are as attractive as you are. You, or your experience, is beautiful. Your life, you could even call it personality, that's beautiful. Your unique perspective is beautiful, and that's who you are. You, or your experience, is beautiful. Your life, your unique individual perspective is beautiful. And that's all you need. That's all you'll ever need. And knowing that, I think it's finally time I turn this thing off. See ya. Found a new angle here. Thought that might be fun. There's my buddy, the squirrel. We're on good terms now. Earlier in the video, I talked about that cycle, that false identity cycle of self-deprivation and value, and I just want to be done with that. I want to be done with that cycle of sadness, basically, is what it is. It's a cycle of failure, because I know that I'll never reach those things, and to put myself in the position where I have to reach certain goals in order to be myself, or in order to be happy, I want to be done with that. I want to pursue what I'm actually interested in. I want to do things for the right reasons, for the reasons that I am interested in, because I want to do them, because I enjoy them, because I love doing this stuff. I don't want to do it anymore because I want to get a certain amount of appreciation or meet a certain expectation. I want to do what I enjoy because I enjoy it, not in order to upkeep my personal value. I think when we disassociate those things, at least I am a lot happier. So I highly recommend trying it out. Look for your false identities. Look for those self-imposed identities. Try to think about them when they start to weigh on you in a progressive acceptance kind of way. And remember that your identity, it's your perspective. It's your effort towards truth every day as you experience the world. It's your hopes. It's your infinitely personal experience of the world, and nobody can ever take that from you. That's completely yours. Bugs, man, wow. No matter how long you're alive, that will always be yours. And it's just, that's way more accurate to, I think, what makes somebody valuable, to how we evaluate people, than trying to say that it could be how good they are at something or how bad they are at something. That really has nothing to do with somebody's identity or who somebody is or what people are, in my opinion. You could even refer to that personal experience, that perspective. You could even call that somebody's personality. I almost forgot what this video was about. I think you could, and I think that has something really important to do with personality. So yeah, I think that personality matters way more than looks do. Any day, easy. It can be really easy to forget that. It can be really easy to make a self-imposed identity where you think that your looks are you. They're not. You are something else. You are something absolutely unattainable. You are not your looks, and that's true. And I think that means that personality matters way more. You matter way more. Anyway.